It is time to bring in Dr. Judy Wurtman. Judy is the co-author of the Serotonin Power Diet, serotoninpowerdiet.com. Simon loses his tummy. I saw a great picture of Simon on Facebook. And I'm telling you, Simon looks like he has lost his tummy. And also, we have a new book that Judy has authored, Before Her Voice Was Still. Well, let's bring her in and say, Happy New Year ahead of time. Hi, Dr. Wurtman.
Happy New Year, happy post-Christmas, happy Hanukkah, all these wonderful things that are happening. And I have to say, this is the first time in several years we have not spent Christmas in New England. A totally different experience when it's warm. By 8:30 yesterday morning, I guess people got up very early to get their gifts because the beaches were already filling up with people, children and kids and their parents and their grandparents, and people were walking their dogs. And Simon was there getting some sunshine on his ever-shrinking stomach.
He does look great.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he'll be 17 in February.
My gosh.
God willing. So
God bless.
He's doing okay.
We're happy to hear it. And also, Before Her Voice Was Still is available online at Amazon, etc.
Yeah.
Right. It's available both in paperback and also in Kindle. And as I said, anybody who has a friend or family member who has gone through a disease like ALS, which is what my friend Susan went through, the reason the title comes, it refers to the fact that she died before she died when she was still able to speak, but that was going to be leaving her very soon. Anyway, people might appreciate the book because it really shows what a courageous and joyous life she lived, even with this dreadful disease. Anyway, that being said, speaking about joyful, one of the things that people probably are not looking forward to after the New Year's, maybe January 2nd, is what to do with all those pounds they gained in the last days of 2019. We went to a dinner last night, and I must say, I looked at some of the people filling their plates for the second or third time. It was sort of, you take what you want and eat as much as you want, and thought, okay, buddies, the day of reckoning is going to be coming in about a week. Because some of the people at the table probably could stand to lose more than 5 pounds, maybe 40 or 50 pounds. And it is curious, Jill, that maybe because one makes New Year's resolutions for the entire year on January 1st or January 2nd, we think this is a time we have to get ourselves together and put ourselves on a diet and get us back to the gym, really start living a healthy lifestyle, stop drinking, have more water, eat more kale, fewer French fries and cheeseburgers. And, I dare say those resolutions probably last maybe until the end of January. I doubt if they really last as long as in February. And I think that one of the problems is that, we will all be bombarded with advertisements for weight loss programs that will provide us with everlasting weight loss. You will lose weight without having to count calories, without having to really give up your favorite foods, without having to go to the gym, without doing anything. Somehow by eating these prepackaged meals or having a cleanse or eating just, high-protein foods or bacon wrapped around whipped cream, whatever, you are going to be able to lose the weight that you've gained. And some people really will, because anytime you switch from eating the way you normally eat to eating in a new way, sometimes the novelty will carry you through the first couple of weeks of the diet. And because you're not eating the foods that you normally were eating that were causing you to gain weight, you probably will drop maybe 5 or 10 pounds. But then what? And then what means you probably will slow down your weight loss and eventually probably begin to gain back the weight. And the reason is, and this is never said in any of these advertised weight loss programs or even, group-supported ones like Weight Watchers, is that people rarely are asked, why did you gain the weight to begin with? What was there about your life that was causing you to gain weight? What was there about your eating, your stress levels, your lack of sleep, the ability to get food whenever you wanted to, your reluctance to exercise or exercise with any great intensity or duration? what was there about your life that caused you to gain weight to begin with, and probably will derail your diet sometime around middle of February or early in March?
Yeah, and
nobody ever answers that question.
And what is worse is that between the failure to ask that question and the prepackaged amazement that's available and the hucksters that are hucking it, you start out with basically 3 limbs tied behind your back. And there's
Good point. Good image.
There's no way. There's just no way. And that makes it even more demoralizing because the intention was there. And I just find the whole thing absolutely mind-boggling because it is such a rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It is demoralizing because then you're faced with yet again another failure, and the prospect of gaining even more weight in this coming year. And it occurred to me that look, January is a dreadful month to gain weight. Just we heard about seasonal affective disorder. It is really sort of a perfect storm for gaining weight because one of the symptoms are craving for carbohydrates, especially sweet carbohydrates, lack of energy, no motivation to exercise, no motivation really to move, no motivation even to engage yourself in social activities which get you out of the house, or your irritable mood, anger, all sorts of things which do not go well with being on a highly disciplined diet and getting yourself to the gym every day. And so why start a diet in January? Well, I don't think you should, but I think what you could do is sort of take the role of sort of self-examiner. I mean, you become your own nutritionist in a way, or your own personal trainer, and just look at what you're doing. Look at how you're eating. No judgment, no denial, no lying about this, but just say, okay, are you really eating seconds when you're eating a meal, when you're really full after the first serving? Are you really nibbling every time you pass a bowl of nuts or chocolate, in the office where you work, or you go into the kitchen to make lunch and see some leftover cookies? Do your hand automatically reach for that cookie and put it in your mouth without realizing what you're doing? I mean, do you really find all sorts of excuses never to exercise? Are you getting enough sleep, or do you find yourself eating in order to keep yourself awake, or eating to get yourself to go to sleep? How many times a week, or maybe even a day, do you find yourself dealing with some unwelcome emotion, and you're reaching for food to sort of comfort yourself, or at least dispel, the need to think about it for a little while? I mean, I was watching people again in this dinner party last night, and there's one gentleman sitting across from me who probably could lose 60 pounds easily and still would not be thin. And he went and filled his plate twice, heaping portions. And I thought to myself, oh, he probably had no recollection of having done so. It was just automatic. That's just what you do. You eat one plate full of food, and you go back and eat another plate full of food. And and probably he would tell a dietitian, oh, I never really eat that much. I don't know why. I've gained all that weight. And so I think if you examine what you're doing, you may not have any solution for it, but at least you know what you're doing. Then you have maybe a fighting chance of being able to lose weight once you really start the diet. Because what you can do is investigate a program that might just even a tiny bit address some of your needs. If your problem is emotional overeating, a cleanse isn't going to do any good to you, right? But on the other hand, if your problem is portion control, or eating 2 helpings of food, maybe one of these prepackaged diets will really help because you don't have the option of eating another meal. You have to eat what you're being given. Or maybe, a program that allows you to understand the relationship between serving sizes and calories, or serving sizes and ingredients, and that fat has more than twice as many ingredients as protein or carbohydrate. So I really think that people should get the knowledge first of why they gain the weight, and then they might be able to lose it. I mean, Jill, I came across a statistic recently that in about 20 years, over 50% of our country will be obese. I'm not talking about overweight, obese. And there are some states, I think 27 or so in the United States, where we will be more than just obese. I mean, reaching that mega level. And this was after spending billions of dollars on weight loss programs.
It's more than billions. It's gazillions. It's just, and again, it becomes totally demoralizing. And what we know is that it's not, carrying around all of that weight is not good for you, which means that right, but it means that people who are, people aren't stupid, so they know that they're carrying around weight that isn't good for them. And it starts off each day with, it's hard. It's just, it's like, once again, one hand tied behind your back, two hands. That's before you even get to trying to deal with it. And and something needs to change in the, something just needs to change in the discourse, basically. People need to know that there are things that you can do, and they're quite simple. And you might not lose the all of it, but you can lose some of it and keep it off and still feel okay. And that's where I find the whole operation a little bit on the irresponsible side.
That's right, and there really is. I don't think we need more oversight into what we do, but it would be nice if we had some real statistics on how effective any of these programs are in keeping the weight off. I mean, some people have showed that about 97% of people who go on a diet gain it back within the first year, and about 99% gain it back within 5 years, and this is even true of people who go into bariatric surgery. About 5% of the people who go through that kind of surgery, which is certainly could not be, it must be very painful and very disruptive to your life. They gain back the weight again, and I'm thinking there shouldn't that should not be. I mean, you wouldn't expect to have any other kind of medical treatment where there's, unless you're in to have a terminal disease, where you only have a 5% chance of going into remission. And yet people just don't question that. I mean, you wouldn't take an antibiotic and say, well, the bacteria really is going to come back now, a week after you've stopped taking the antibiotic, because we just know that it comes back. Or you give migraine medication. Well, we know your headache's going to come back in 30 minutes because it really isn't working. You would not accept that. And yet we accept it for weight loss programs because we put the blame on the customer. And we say, oh, well, he didn't follow the diet. Yeah, but why? Oh, well, it was his fault. I don't know. Let him figure that out himself.
Yeah, that's wrong. And thank you very much, Dr. Judy Wurtman, Food for Mood.
To be continued in 2020. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
And you can hear Dr. Judy Wurtman every Thursday morning here on Robin Hood Radio and on demand, robinhoodradio.com. Food for Mood with Dr. Judy Wurtman.